Hello, everyone. I'm almost at the end of the success series. This episode is about how to put everything together or how to surprise God. And this reminds me of Judy Hall, who had this favorite saying that if you want to make God laugh, talk to him about your goals. And it's actually an interesting idea because what she wanted to express by this was the fact that, and I'm really missing her a lot, that she thought that whatever was karmic, and although she firmly believed that we could actually deal with it and we could do something about it, her own life shows that there were certain things that she couldn't surpass, even she, the big Judy Hall, the great Judy Hall. But anyhow, so the biggest problem that I see that is really putting people into the position of not being successful enough is because they simply don't know what they want. I'm realizing this after really countless talks and readings, that some people, even if I ask, okay, yeah, fine, you are unhappy, you don't have a relationship, you are not successful at your job, you don't like your job, you don't like the place you live, you don't like your children, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what would you like to achieve? And they don't know. And this is, I think, the greatest problem, that nowadays people don't have an aim. They don't have purposes. They spend their time with mediocre and stupid things, watching the telly, watching stupid shows, and also arguing about stuff that they have no power over. And that's the biggest problem. So let's take a look at the list of the videos I already prepared for you. And here's the ones that I talked about. So let's go through them very, very quickly. The very first, this is by the way, how they appeared. So, and this is how you can find them, the individual ones. The ingredients of success is the title, and then comes these. The very first one was about her happiness and IQ, and I talked about how important the IQ is, and how important to have a higher IQ. I'm not going to talk about this in this particular video because this is something that you either have or not. You can't really do anything about it. If you have a lower IQ, it's not going to become higher, no matter what you do. So you're not going to ponder about that, because this is something that you can't really change. And regarding happiness and unhappiness, it's a very tricky thing. I just listened to one of the videos of Jordan Peterson. I don't know which one it was. I think you can find it in his biblical series, but I don't remember which one. Maybe it was the 13th, number 13, because it was a couple of days ago, and now I'm at number 15. Whenever I cook, I like to listen to it, because his train of thought triggers my train of thought, and I come to certain conclusions. I'm not accepting everything he says, but he's a clinical psychiatrist, and he's a very knowledgeable man, and he has some very firm ideas about how the mind, for instance, works. And in this particular video, I believe it was the 13th, about maybe Jacob's ladder, something like that. Yes, I think that was it. Anyhow, he says that he was treating a patient who was constantly unhappy, and for years and years and years he was in depression. But he had an accident in which the left side of his brain got damaged. And he says, Jordan Peterson says that the left side of the brain, especially the frontal portion, is responsible to experience happiness. And this made me think it's a very interesting idea, because normally speaking, the right side of the brain is our intuitive side. So those people who are very intuitive, who are artists, who are dreamers, who see strange or experience strange things they often have a very well developed right brain, and the left brain is not functioning too well, which means they don't know how to function in the real world, because they live in this dream world. So the fact that actually it's the left side of the brain that is responsible for the feeling of happiness, that was a revelation for me, because actually, so it means that, yeah, we can actually look at happiness as a rational thing. And this is brilliant if this is true, because then you can train yourself to become happy. And happiness is not always flying and being on the seventh cloud. It simply means content, to feel content. And for this, I would suggest, if you just said a little prayer every time you feel that you are content. Thank you, God. Thank you for this beautiful meal, or thank you for this sunshine, or whatever. It immediately brings you back this feeling of content and happiness. And yes, it's important, I think. At the same time, if you are a little bit unhappy or more content, let's use this old word, it may trigger you to seek something else, to go out of your comfort zone and actually try to do something other than what you're doing, because that doesn't bring you happiness. So a considerable amount of unhappiness is very degrading and debilitating, but at the same time, a small amount may trigger the action that brings or takes you towards success. The next one, the next video is about industriousness and endurance, but I'm not going to talk about that yet, because I'm going to look at vision, faith, and aim in just as a whole, because besides being industrious, that nothing surpasses it. Okay, you need to be industrious in order to be successful, unfortunately. So you can't escape that. But if you don't have a vision, you're not going to go anywhere. And people today don't have a life vision. They don't know what they want to be. The problem is that they are watching stupid TV, they are watching stupid series. That reality is accepted by their own brains as true reality. And when they compare themselves to those heroes and heroines in the series, they realize that their whole life is a piece of crap. And that's problematic, because it's exactly the same thing that happened with young girls who became anorexic, just copying the supermodels, the thin supermodels, because that was the ideal, and they wanted to become like the ideal, and they just starved themselves to death. It's exactly the same thing. Don't ever copy other people. Think about what makes you happy, what you would like to achieve, have a vision. And once you have a vision, put some faith in it. And of course, the aim should be very, very clear. This is what I'm aiming at. A year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. If you are middle-aged, think how you're going to spend the second half of your life. The first half went by already. Was it okay? Was it satisfying? Was it successful or not? And if not, what do you need to do to turn it around? If you are young, try to have a vision for the rest of your life in stages. Okay, and if you are getting old, try to think about what you want to leave here on earth as a legacy. What is going to be your legacy? What is it that will crown your years here on earth? Okay, this is very important. But endurance and industriousness are the key factors of becoming successful. Maybe if I wanted to choose between or among these philosophical points, I would choose industriousness for sure, because nothing surpasses that. And of course, endurance, it's not the same thing. Industriousness means that you put energy and effort into it, long hours into achieving something. And endurance means that you are able to surpass difficult situations. You're able to stay in difficult situations in order to become successful. So those are very important ingredients. And then comes the points, sacrifice and risk. And both are very important if you want to achieve success, simply because there is nothing in life that doesn't come at a price. And this is something that the ancients knew perfectly well. So all magical processes included the idea of sacrifice. I want to achieve this, and in order to achieve it, I'm willing to sacrifice that. And it doesn't have to be an equal amount of energy, but it needs to be some sort of thing that is helping the whole process. Whereas risk taking is also equally important. It means that sometimes you need to leave your comfort zone. You need a leap of faith in order to become truly successful. You can't just tread on the well-known pathway. Sometimes you need to leave it and you need to turn to uncharted backwaters, so to speak. And that's always risky because you might fail. You might get into a situation that you can't handle, or you might get into a situation which is not just difficult, but also dangerous. Still, if you want to become successful, truly successful, you need to learn to take risks. Then these were really the philosophical videos, and then came two very astrological ones. The time factor was about outer planet transits and outer planet so-called lifetime aspects, or generational aspects as well. And it helped you to understand how these time factors work, how these planetary cycles were interacting with you, with your life, and interfering with your life, really. And at what age, what astrological factors were at your disposal. It's very important. If you learn astrology, this is a very important thing to know, that the natal chart is not static. It is dynamic. It gets all sorts of impacts from the outer planet transits. That's one thing, and also with progressions and directions, which are inner developmental potentials. And then came the video on success aspects. Those are really important because they can actually decide whether you are exceptionally successful, or there's a chance for you to become exceptionally successful or not. There were 15 different aspects in 5 aspect types, 15 planetary combinations, plus 1 Venus and the Sun, because they, out of the 5 potential aspects, conjunctions, trines, bidirectional quincunxes, parallel and contraparallel, you only have 3. You don't have trines and quincunxes between Sun and Venus in a natal chart, obviously. So those, if you have any of those, just 1, it's average. You are not exceptionally successful. If you have at least 2, you can become at least more successful than average. But it doesn't mean just by that. So you need to incorporate it. You need to understand the energy pattern. You need to be able to use it. Someone asked me if house placements were important. Yes, of course they were important. House and sign placements and the accompanying other aspects were also important. And again, if you had, let's say, a Sun-Jupiter trine, but at the same time you had a Sun-Saturn square, obviously they're kind of canceling each other out. So you won't be able to feel the unlimited success that the Sun-Jupiter otherwise provides you with. So again, success aspects are very relevant. It's a wonderful tool if you start using them, because you can assess a person, but don't get sad if you don't have any. Because if you take a look at the philosophical factors and you start using them, believe me, you will become successful. So this is just an added attraction. If you have them, fine. If you don't have them, you have to work a little bit harder, and also look at the accompanying aspects in order to see how they pan out, how they can be worked. So these were my tips, so to speak, and let's take a look at the fact, how can you surprise God? Well, if you do all these, if you incorporate all these tips, all these mechanics, all these factors in your life, and you have a vision, a clear vision, and you're willing to be industrious, and you're willing to endure the hardships, and all that, you will become successful no matter what. And I wish you every luck for this. I hope you will be able to surprise God. Do that. Even if you don't believe in God, there is one up there. And I hope you will find this God energy, this divine energy, which is really permeating the whole of our universe. And the sooner you understand how it is working, the sooner you will realize that there's always divine interception in your life. I always say that if you do something that is really relevant and good, and not just good for you, but good for everyone else, then it will succeed. All the obstacles will be miraculously taken away, and things are just going smoothly. Sometimes you have a great idea, it would be relevant, not just for your staff, it would be important, and still it doesn't move, it doesn't materialize. Then you need to stop and you need to look at all the ingredients, and you need to ask your question, is this really taking me anywhere? Is this really something that I really want, and it will really be some sort of elevation for me according to my situation? Maybe the universe wants you to be prevented from it. So sometimes we just we mistake the situation. And no matter how we believe that this is something that I want and it's going to be good for me, sometimes it's not. And so whenever you have like a hindering effect or an obstacle, take a look at it and ask yourself, is this an obstacle to show me that I should be careful? Or is it an obstacle that I can use as a test? And try it. But of course, if the going gets really, really too tough, you might as well say, okay, fine, I'm not going to do this. And ask questions, ask other people that you like, or ask experts about what to do. Get as much help as you can from the outside, get as much view, other people's views, because this is how you can assess your situation. But if you really put energy and effort into it, you will surprise God and yourself as well. Good luck with it. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.